whether the the real universes are reshaped each time there are upheavals or there are disturbances or whatever in the psychic world.
Okay, I get
Yes.
that. No,
Yeah.
no, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no
Okay.
reshaping of anything. It's like the air. Whatever you decide or do, does the air reshape itself? No. Does the sun? When you look at the sun, when you decide something, or you're mad or angry, or even if you let off an atomic blast, does it reshape the sun? No, it doesn't. This is all part. This is a reflection and a demonstration of the isness. No, it has no effect, which is cool. Creation is its own place in life. That's it. That's all it is. And so until each person wakes up to where they're at, first of all, they don't. They stay in creation until they do have a proper wake up and they can stand real with life itself and not be the effect of themselves and not create causes. We're not interested in cause and effect. Now, Paul talked about cause. He talked about the lower worlds of positive and negative. That's what he did on his God chart. And then he called it, on the God chart, he called it the positive, the pure positive worlds of the eventually God or the Sigma. He used these ideas. Okay, still, it's really not that. Again, this was like being in kindergarten playing with blocks. Okay, so this is what Paul did. He was to start it off. He started the idea, he went through this, he created the membership, etc., to where people are basically followers and they just pay for ideas. Okay, that's fine. That's where we start off, but we're far past that now. And so, no, nothing affects the real universes, which is so cool because they're pure. And it's like you can swing at the sunshine, the sun shining, but what does it do? It does nothing. You see? You can swing at the air, you see? But it does nothing, you see? So again, no, the real universes are indifferent to creation, which is so cool. And that's where it is a recognition, because that's where you recognize your freedom. It's not something that you strive for or run after, like people run after happiness and chase money, etc. No, it's a recognition, and it is not affected. It's by anything. Even the love idea is not affected by things. So someone has to mute here. Yeah. So again, this is the challenge of each person, because again, as I've said many times, the world has been literalized. People think in terms of, excuse me, trying to figure out life. And the true reality life is cannot be figured out. It must be recognized, and then you decide accordingly. You decide how to, activate and become more aware for yourself and get through yourself what you've been through, because you need that too. Everything you're going through. This is where the real guides, you might say, take on the karma of the individual. Paul used to explain this. And the idea is that they take on so much, just like your parents do. They do things for you, but they don't do all of it for you. They can't live your life, okay? They can't brush your teeth and, always bathe you. Eventually you have to do that and go to the bathroom by yourself and change your clothes and all these things. They do certain things, and this is what the boys do too. They do certain things to get you going. And then they watch the individual, how they are self-motivated to do something, to wake up in some way. And there's many ways to do it. So you've got to figure that part out yourself. But in the meantime, suggest to read the books and what have you. But again, I know I'm going real roundabout here, but there is a lot more than just this and that, yes and no. So again, no, in no way does it affect the real universes, because they are indifferent to creation altogether, like day and night. They are indifferent. Go ahead.
When Uncle Jeff has a rather funny dream, he says on the real side, his ear his earlobe actually cuts off or detaches itself and is in his hand. And so in this real side experience, he's confused about what this can mean. This can mean, and then he's anxious in the dream, and he wants to do something about it. And then by the time he's about to get up, because this state of anxiety certainly made him want to get up. So he puts his ear again back into place, and it attaches itself well, as if one has used glue. So he wants to ask you what this kind of dream can signify.
Okay, here's another fun one, and that is that, well, the basic idea of your ear is to hear, and the earlobe, okay, the lobe on the ear, which is the lower part of the ear, all right? For the most part, everybody has different ears. And so as we get older, we get bigger lobes on our ears, don't we? You see older people, and I see it myself with the physical body. Your ears actually get bigger, don't they? And for the most part, most people become more literalized and fossilized. So I would say in this experience, this is one way to look at it. That is that this is part of like the personal self, okay? Because the ear signifies listening, and the lobe itself isn't necessary. So again, falling off in his hand to where, again, one of the techniques in dreams is to look at your hands. And so this is part, I would say, the literal side of the individual. It has to make sense in some way. And then, of course, he takes a look at it. In other words, when it's on your ear, when you don't look at your ears, okay? You don't see your back, you don't see the tap line, you don't see these things. You don't look at your ears, you don't look at the top of your head, etc. But on the real side, when this is shown to you, it's bringing something up front. Again, it's part of the personal self. And all you have to do is recognize what's going on. So in other words, we learn to see ourselves here, and then we reattach it again. It's all okay because it's part of ourself. It's part of our makeup. If we're a doctor, a lawyer, housewife, or whatever we do here, this is part of it. But we start to see it better, don't they? And so it's like it's like a picture or a document or anything that people exchange, and they exchange it with their hands, and they look at it, they hold it in their hand. And so he's holding part of himself in his hand, which is attached to the ear. So number one, to be a better listener and to pay attention to what you're hearing, or if you're listening at all. And so again, that's part of it, and that's the lower part of the ear, which would be, I would say, the literal part. Okay, so but he decides, it's his experience. That's just it gives him a little hint, maybe. Go ahead.
Jeff has another question. In fact, he's been directed to ask this by the Friends of Bandundu, a city there where the new presentation is just taking root, and they have so many experiences on the real side, which are positive, which shows their lives are different, shows that their lives could improve, or there could be an amelioration in their conditions of life. But then on the outer, there is nothing to show for these experiences that they have had. Farmers continue to have the same difficulties, go through the same difficulties. Business people have so much hurdles in their lives, and in fact, so they begin to wonder whether why there is no one-to-one relationship between the experiences on the real side and the physical life. So what is actually happening, that there is this discrepancy between the real side experiences that they have and their outer physical life. Yeah, Dwayne, over to you.
I understand, Charles. We went over this many times, and it's good because it's going to take a while for people to understand. So I'm going to make it very simple for you, and that is that you, how did you acquire your degree? How did you get your job? Okay, first of all, you went to school, you learned things, right? And that learning was not just the physical books or the desk you sat at or the teacher you saw. Your learning was really invisible, wasn't it? It was from the other areas of creation to first, imagine, see, and, be able to, recognize or calculate or figure out, okay, what you're going to do with your life, right? All that was invisible. It was invisible to your senses. But eventually, you got through that part of it. And even when you graduated from school and then went to college and you went through the same process, okay, and eventually graduated and got your diploma, okay, you've got all that now, all right? You went through all this process. That's really the invisible side of yourself, isn't it? The unseen part, just like on the real side. Things are being set up. The boys are doing it for people. They're setting it up, okay? Just like when you went to school, it was already there. It was already set up for you. But as soon as you walked out the door, if you didn't do anything about it according to the world and as it is, okay, and the agreement you're looking for to maybe go find a job or something like that, you had to go out there and look for the job. You had to get agreement, didn't you? You had to do that now in the physical sense, even though on the real side, you had accomplished what you had the awareness, you had the recognition to do what you do. You see? And the same with this. People are looking for miracles. No, just like everything that I've done, the Skypes and what have you, written the books, doing the groups on Facebook, on Lulu, etc. All these things, the recordings, I had to do that. It just didn't fall out of the sky. And so the same thing, see, you understand now, and this is what you've got to get across to these people. How many times have I said, I see what Africa is going through. You don't want to keep using that as an excuse. You and everyone else came into Africa in this lifetime because this is where you're best situated to have the challenge and to wake up for yourself. And at the same time, now you can decide whatever you want, to do whatever you want. Yes, on the real side, it's already done. Just like a thought that you would have. Oh, I want to be rich. I want to be famous. Whatever. You can have it. But now you've got to make it so in the physical, don't you? So it's not going to fall out of the sky. It's like you have the idea, you see it, now you move forward and you figure it out. So if it takes getting 1,000 Africans together to build a road, that's what it takes. And yes, just like me with the Skypes here, we only have a certain amount of people because this is all that will agree to what I'm presenting, you see. And little by little, hey, it's taken a lot. This is, it's taken me 45 years to get here, Charles. I didn't do it overnight. And so again, you look at anything that's established, it doesn't happen overnight, but you must decide to start somewhere. And so again, the real guides are actually showing each person how to do this on the real side. This is what they're demonstrating, okay? But then you must, and each person must, in their own physical sense, no matter what it is, move forward. If they're homeless and they're on the street, hey, they can get up and they can decide to do something. If it's go beg for money or do something, just go do something. Plant flowers, chase the animals, but just go do something, you see? And so it's not a matter of waiting. This is where people are waiting for Jesus to fix the world. No, this is a matter of we do something. And everybody knows somebody. So again, this is where as many people get together, and which they have demonstrated many times. Look at all the big protests in the world. You know, how do you gather all the people in the city to protest? Hey, that takes a lot of time to get people together to protest, and we see these huge protests. But you see, there are people that are in agreement. So why not get people that can be in agreement with something wonderful? So this is where you must act, you see. And so as long as they keep waiting, they're going to just keep waiting. You got to do it. Go ahead, Charles.